Okay, for what it's worth, I just want to check back in, and this maybe will be tomorrow's update. I did cut my hair, and I'm pretty proud of it. I didn't get all crazy or anything, and I shortened it up on the sides a little bit, and up on top, but I left some length, and yeah, I did a good job. So, yay me! And I cut it dry, which is not that great. I need a better set of shears, but still there. I cut my own hair, and I didn't do too bad of a job. So, la-di-da. I mean, that's what people did in the Depression and shit. They cut their own hair, and they made their own. My grandma told me that they made their own root beer and ice cream and all sorts of different stuff. You know what else my grandma told me? That, you know, if you take stock in any of these things, which I do, I believe that I'm a sugar addict. And I also believe that my sugar addiction, well, I know my sugar addiction started when I was a kid. And I believe, and there may already be studies about this, so whatever, if you're gonna like write in and be like, no shit, Sherlock, they've already done 100 studies on this, like, you're not telling us anything new, you suck, then so be it. But that sugar, I believe that sugar addiction, like people who are sugar addicted, like that there's a physical reaction between them eating sugar, basically the phenomenon of craving, you know, that a physical addiction to sugar, you know, the idea that when I have a cookie, I physically can feel that I have a sugar that I've initiated a sugar craving, the same kind of craving that is active and is triggered when alcoholics drink alcohol, you know, that for whatever reason our bodies metabolize that differently. And, you know, and it's no surprise since alcohol is in its very essence sugar. It breaks down into sugar. So I believe I've been a sugar addict. So even like before I've ever drank, like I think my body was reacting to substances, sugary substances, different than other people. And I used them in the morning to get going. I always was a slow starter. I'd like to stay up later and sleep later, and it was hard for me to get going. So, you know, like other people used coffee or whatever. Well, kids didn't, but I went to school with like candy and sugar in the morning. So, you know what I mean? I think it was a physical thing I was setting up. And as alcoholism is genetic, you know, that's pretty well accepted at this point. I remember my grandma telling me, just in one of those stories that you tell people, you know, like, this is what it was like for me. Like, you know, this, that. You know, several of the stories I remember her telling me, you know, were standard grandma stories. You know, we made our own root beer. It was the Depression, and, you know, at Christmas time, all of us went down. She had 9 other brothers and sisters. Her mom had 10 kids, 8 girls, and 2 boys at the end. And, you know, it was the Depression, and she would be like, you know, at Christmas time, you know, we were so poor that they would just take us down to, like, whatever, for lack of a better term, like the Salvation Army, and they got to pick out one toy, you know, and different stories like that. And the one story I remember her telling me that didn't necessarily have a whole lot of significance, but has more significance to me now, is this idea that, like, when she was a kid, and like sugar was a big deal, you know, was a commodity. When she was a kid, she got into the sugar, and she ate so much sugar that she got like sores in her nose and around her mouth and shit. So, dude, that's some like addiction, you know what I mean? Like, that's like a compulsion. That part of it probably was like, oh, she didn't get sugar a lot, so then she ate it. But to eat that much, and to eat like until you got sick and got like sores and shit, I don't know. I think that's some genetic addiction going on. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a precursor to something, you know? I think that's an interesting story to have in the light of the way my body reacts to stuff. I don't even remember. where that was coming from, why I was telling you that story, or what triggered that memory, or the depression. Oh, because you cut your hair. People cut their own hair in the Depression. And that made me think of my grandma telling me Depression stories, and that being one of the stories, and that's where it came from. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, maybe I sound like a fool, but I don't know. Anyway, there you go. Hair cutting, sugar, depression. The Great Depression. Capital G, capital D. Yeah. 你好